Hello, and welcome to another episode of
Sound it out.
Wow, also known as the Sad Beige Club. If you're watching us
I
on YouTube,
love, yeah, exactly. If you're watching, I love that we did that instinctually, and I think we look great.
it's
Whatever.
really distracting to watch ourselves while we're recording.
I
This
know.
is the
I
first
don't.
time we've doing this.
Did you know, like, in all of the ones that we've done, I'm always looking at myself or you, but I'm always looking at the camera, so it's not helpful for anybody who listens to this as a podcast because we're just looking at each other, anyways. And I do a lot of things for the visual as opposed to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, how
Well,
are you?
we have a lot to talk about, so I think we'll get distracted by that.
Okay, great.
I'm doing well, thank you. We could, yeah, dive right into our catch
Catch
up.
up.
So hopefully we're going to be getting on a better cadence of posting our episodes timely because it's more fun when our catch ups are current.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Tuesday that we're recording, the Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. And I was going to say like my catch up is we had family in town, but no, I think my biggest news is that we launched our podcast. Whatever,
Yay!
we were like hiding it and not publicizing it, even though 2 episodes had been uploaded. And then the news broke that the Lucy Calkins court case had been dropped, which
Yeah.
we're going to get into because we don't have time for that. That's a whole other thing. But we were just like, F it, let's just pump this thing out because our first episode is so relevant to that news.
Yeah.
And I got some really great feedback from some friends. Specifically, my friend Kat was saying, like, the reason that we're doing this podcast is something she could really relate to, which is we want to keep learning and growing and expanding our opinions in the world of education. But it takes something as dramatic as creating and publicizing a podcast to actually be held accountable to do that. And so that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's my catch up is that I spent a lot of time over the weekend making preparations for this to be shared with about 30 people.
No, but I think you did a great job. All the Instagram posts. I've been, and I guess I'll do my catch up now as I nicely interrupted. Kind of busy a little bit. We just came back. Well, not just came back, but we went to, as a fourth grade class, we went to DC. And it was really funny because I remember texting you and being like, I'm in DC, and like wanting to just, no, it was amazing. They had a great time. Where did we go? We went everywhere. We went to a lot of war memorials. We went to the Lincoln Memorial. We went to the National Museum for African American History and Culture, which was absolutely gut-wrenching. It was a really amazing experience. We went to...
Stunning is that building on its
It's
own.
absolutely, like, so prior to going, I did kind of a bit of front loading with the kids, so I like created like 3 mini lessons just about the building and what we're gonna see and how it was created and how the structure really influences the experience you're supposed to have, and that was really powerful to like just see just the whole thing, just to experience it. It was a lot for me. Sorry, this piece of hair is driving me crazy. Anyways, but yeah, it was great, and the kids loved it. Where else did we go? We went to the Washington Monument. It was just like a lot of walking. We went bowling, and we went to Dave and Buster's.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and the kids had like a great time. They were amazing. And then at the end of the trip, on our way home, the bus broke down just
We
outside
didn't.
of Newark. No, I know. I was saving it. Yeah, the bus broke down outside of Newark, and it was crazy because we had to get a new bus. So the teacher that was leading the trip, he just like went into like super dad mode, which I thought was like super impressive because I'd never really seen him in that capacity. And he was like on the phone. He's like, yeah, get me, we need, either send 2 small buses or 1 big bus or da 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 da. We've got 34 kids. We have 6 adults. Like this has to happen now. It's traffic and whatever. And yeah, they called the state troopers to come in, and because we were, like when you're going to go off the ramp, but there's also the ramp going around. I don't even know what it's called, but like on whatever, there's like this, whatever. We were stuck in that little triangle median. Oh, and God. So cars were like, it's on the highway, right? The cars are like going by, and people are trying to get on the ramp, and it was just crazy. So they had to call in the state troopers. They blocked off the street. And then the other thing, we are like, we're 4th grade, so these kids are like still 9, 10. Everywhere we went, even in DC, like they are so tiny compared to like everybody else. It was so crazy. Anyway, these tiny little kids are like running out the bus onto the other bus. People are the teacher and like the bus driver and then the new bus driver were like throwing the luggages onto the like median so that we could like grab it. And then me, I was at the back of the bus because whatever, I didn't want to be at the front with all the people who get sick. So I'm like grabbing bags with my own bag on, and I'm like, and then I took video and another teacher took video, and then the state troopers, I'm going to give a shout out to New Jersey state troopers. Oh my God. It was like state troopers, amazing. Thank you so much. They helped, thank God. Thank you so much to the New Jersey state troopers. But anyways, we got back safely, and then I basically died. Oh, we had been on the bus for 9 hours. Jeez. And the kids were amazing. I mean, these are 9 and 10-year-olds. They watched a movie. They didn't even complain. And when we got the next bus, they were like fine. They were singing and just like so. God bless. Yeah, testament to their parents too, who like, this happens. You have to just deal with it, and whatever, roll with it. It was great. It was great. Right. That was a lot. But yeah, and then now I'm writing report cards. May is manic. It's just manic. And it was my mom's birthday, and it was Mother's Day. It's just like it all happens at the same time.
Yeah. No, May is insane.
May is insane.
When is the day of school?
June 11th. Thank the Lord. Because I'm done. I'm in that mode of like, I just want the year to finish. And like, I have no real... Not that I don't have patience. I just want to be with my students. I just want to hang out. I want to have a good time. I want to eat snacks. I want to talk about stupidness. I want shenanigans to happen. Like, I'm not... we usually do this last 10 days of school countdown. We, like, pop a balloon every day.
Oh, cute.
It's really cute. So the first one is today, which I'm not there for. But I think it's no homework tomorrow, so they don't have any homework to do. And then I forget what it is, but we have like a bunch of stuff, like ice pops a day.
And, like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it's really cute. That's cute. I'm excited.
That is fun. Back in the day when we used to teach together, I remember like somebody would be entertaining and the other person would be like manically trying to clean out cabinets.
Yes. Because we had to pack up our rooms. I remember that every year. We're like taking things down and packing things up because the rooms would be moved, or we would, yeah.
Do you have to do that?
No, I don't think so. I think we have to like just make sure everything, because summer camp will come in and they'll like use the room for camp, but I don't think we have to like move. I don't know. I'm just, because I also don't know, this is the time of year where you're going to find out, what are you teaching next year? First grade, fourth grade, 10th grade. Just kidding. But like, we'll see. I'm hoping I'm staying in fourth grade with my co-teacher because I love her. I love her very much.
That's great.
Yeah. I loved you. We loved each other at the end. We loved each other at the end, at the very end.
We spoke about this a little bit, or maybe I just said it in a voice text and I thought we talked about it, which is, there's whatever. We can get into voice texting another time, but part of the issue was like I feel like we had a conversation about something, but no, I was just speaking and sending. And like there was never actually a conversation. But I think the relationship of a co-teacher is so difficult. Like it's just such an intimate partnership and stressful and emotional, like roller coaster. And so to have a relationship that is consistently easy is, I think, impossible. And that's okay. But I mean, kudos to all co-teachers, because I think that also like it takes a certain kind of personality to be a teacher. And I think that certain kind of personality is a lot of personality.
Yeah, and then you know me, I'm a big personality, and I have my ways. I mean, I haven't kicked the cabinet in decades, but I just, you know, I
thought you kicked the cabinet.
No, it was the cabinet. And I actually think I kicked the garbage can, and I was like trying to move it out the way, but anyways, that was a million years ago. But what I love about my co-teacher is that we're very yin and yang. We balance each other out really well. And I think that's also the key. Like, you know each other, you know yourselves, and you know each other. And I think that's like that's an amazing thing.
Let's talk about things we're loving
right now.
I think I think mine is Canva, which it's so good. I just didn't know. So again, I had to do a quick deep dive into how to post on social media to promote something, and came across Canva and just have become obsessed with it. Just playing with creating different posts and stories, and it's so easy. All of the formatting and the different font choices and like colors just me pretty excited, and that has been something that I'm loving. Also, in this process of trying to build an Instagram following to share what we're doing, my strategy was or is going on to big accounts like IMSE and looking at one of their recent posts and looking through the comments of people who are engaging with it, and then following all of those people, because I assume those are like active educators. And so from doing that, we now have on our Sounds It Out podcast Instagram account a whole bunch of these educators that I see their posts now, and I'm actually joining a coffee chat next week that one of those accounts is holding, which I'm really excited about. So that's something else I'm loving. I'm loving just social media right now in general, and having this account that is just, there's no noise in it. It's just, we're only following right now educators, people interested in education, like anything in the realm of education. And so it's really nice to tap into social media during the day and feel productive and inspired, instead of like being like, how did I end up here? Like, how do I get out? I'm distracted. It's been quite the opposite experience. Just remembering that you can curate your social media experience to be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
If it feels toxic, if it feels noisy and distracted, then you can change that. So yeah, I'm loving Canva. I'm loving social media right now.
I love that. I really love that for us as well. Mine is kind of, I don't know if it's related. I like how we're kind of in sync. Well, yeah, anyway. Mine is TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers. I'm loving it right now because it's the end of the year, and I got emotional for like a half a second. It's the end of the year, and like not only with like teaching, but also like in tutoring, I have relied on that website like for everything, and I'm just so grateful. The fact that I can get all these really amazing free resources created by teachers, used by teachers, and that are like either free or I can pay a low fee. Like I've just, the way they've helped me in a bind, like I've been teaching conversion and math, and I needed like a really nice, concise way to like display the conversion. So like, centimeters to whatever, yards, feet, whatever. Right there. Like easy. I don't even know. I don't even remember. Yeah. But it was just so, like, I was so grateful. And they've just gotten me out of binds all year this year. So I'm giving a shout out and like, thank you to TPT. And I think the only other thing that I'm really loving right now, Pope Leo the 14th.
Oh,
I'm just really happy and like I love him and I mean so far, like God only knows. But yeah, I'm just really loving him. I love that he's American. I love that he's from Chicago. I love that his name is Leo, just like my uncle's name was Leo, who happened to go into the seminary but then left. But yeah, just it was like a really emotional day. But yeah. Yay, Pope Leo!
Great, so let's dive into our episode. I'm excited about this. This is very much aligned with our goal and mission of this podcast, which is to learn more about things that we don't feel like we know enough about. And the Department of Education is something that obviously is always in our periphery, but I personally I just assumed I knew about it. I never thought twice about it until it is potentially being dismantled or is being dismantled. And so, yeah, this episode came up quite naturally as we were talking about lawsuits in education, because from what I understand, again, disclaimer, there could be errors or misconceptions, and we are open to feedback.
We're teachers and we're humans and we're again, like, and I think I just want to reiterate what you said. We're doing this for ourselves. You guys, whoever is there, like, listening, you're on for the ride. And, like, we're not saying that we're experts. We're not saying this is, like, canon or God's law or whatever. this is stuff that we find interesting and that we want to talk about. So, yeah.
We invite you to help us along in our journey and clear misconceptions if you recognize them.
Yeah, and don't, like, be mean.
But what I know my hair is in a weird place right now. Like, it's fine.
I know, but, like, I feel like, okay, I am going to mention this. Usually you're the beauty.
Oh.
You know, you are. You're always, like, because your jaw, it's snatched, gorgeous. And I always look like I literally just came off a bus, which I had just come off a train. But I feel like today, because I washed my hair yesterday, like, this is just giving. And I'm like, I've been staring at myself the entire time. I don't know, I'm just...
So, okay.
Moving on.
I believe the idea to talk more or learn more about the Department of Education came up in episode 2 as we were talking about the Lucy Calkins lawsuit.
Yeah.
Because the Department of Education does fund educational lawsuits. Because I did hear an argument against the Department of Education, which was, we're putting all of this money into it for lawsuits, and that feels like a waste, which can very much be argued back that parents of students who are not being treated fairly need to have the ability to sue.
Yes.
It's a slippery slope of a lot of details that I could easily mistake. So I'm going to pivot away from that and say, we definitely thought of this episode idea from Calkins lawsuit. And we're going to share some of the information that we've learned. So kicking off with, how did the Department of Education begin? Which I find really interesting.
Same.
And so, okay. So when Jimmy Carter was running for president in the 70s, he campaigned on a promise to create the Board of Education. And this was because he was endorsed by the NEA, the National Education Association. And it was their very first time ever endorsing a president. And before I get into why they endorsed him, I wanted to dig a little deeper into why was this the first time they ever endorsed a president. Because prior to this, they had been completely neutral when it came to politics. So I wanted to learn a bit about the NEA, how long it had been in existence, and what its reputation was. That could give me a little bit more insight into why they would be politically neutral. So come down this quick little journey with me as we talk about when it was founded and some of the really interesting key events throughout the years. Okay. So first founded in 1857.
Wow.
I know. I have like goosebumps. And it was initially known as the NTA, the National Teachers Association. In 1865, the NTA denounces slavery and recommends no seceded states be readmitted to the Union until they agree to provide a free public school system for Black and white children. Okay, so that's like their kickoff.
Amazing. Yeah.
And then in 1866, they say, women, you can come too. They allow the women.
Thank God.
In 1869, just 3 years after the women are allowed, the first woman vice president of the NTA was elected, Emily Rice. Go M. And this is a decade before, this is important, this is a decade before Congress had even given women the right to vote. So already in 1869, this politically neutral association, it's kind of giving liberal vibes. They're not saying that out loud. They're just like doing what they're just doing what they do. Which next was in 1870, they become the NEA, so National Education Association. And their slogan is great public schools for every child.
Oh, yeah.
These also important things, like, this isn't just because I wanted to go down this historical little train because it's interesting, but also because it will become relevant when we talk about the breaking down of Department of Education. This is interesting, and this could be a whole other podcast episode. I'm going to have to really stop myself from talking about it too much. But in 1892, 1892 is the Committee of 10 is chosen. And what happened here, the NEA charged a 10-member committee to, quote unquote, take stock of current practice in America's high schools and make recommendations for future practice. So what's happening in the 1890s is publicly funded high schools begin to appear alongside the privately funded academies that were prepping students for college. So 1892, we start to get public high schools. And also in the 1890s, there are competing academic philosophies emerging. So this is like rote memorization versus critical thinking. People are arguing about this in the 1890s.
Wow.
And alongside those philosophies, working trades versus college bound. Like, this is stuff that we're going to talk about this probably in 20 years.
Yeah. Decades.
Schools is
centuries.
Comparing to college and so I'm not going to get into what the Committee of 10 recommended because it's quite detailed and again, a whole other episode. 1920 we jump to, becomes a representative assembly. 1926 forms Joint Committee for Justice. So what this means is they convinced the SASC, the Southern Association of Schools and Colleges, to change because previously the SASC were not accrediting schools for African American students, which was preventing them from getting into college. And so the NEA was like, don't do that anymore, please. And they actually convinced them to change.
Wow.
In 1954, despite Brown versus Board of Ed, Black educators were still being targeted or fired. And in response, the NEA established a $1 million fund to protect human rights of educators. This was in 1954. In 1967, the first Hispanic president, Braulio Alonso, is elected. In 1968, the first Black president, Elizabeth Duncan Kuntz, is elected. In the 1970s, they recognized a need for inclusion and diversity. And I kind of stopped there, but this is the history of the NEA.
Amazing.
Now, we go back to the NEA saying to Carter,
Mm-hmm.
we've been neutral. We've never, endorsed a candidate before. Nobody knows our political opinion. Um, and like we're down to endorse you if you promise to give us a board of ed. And so, um, I get back to how did the board of ed begin? So Carter's main goals with the Department of Ed when he was campaigning were to increase national attention to education.
Mm.
So
Say that again. To create what?
increase national attention to education.
Mm.
So by giving a cabinet level voice to educators, it would be heard at a greater level. Things that were needed by the NEA, they would actually have a microphone to really yell for what they wanted and get more attention.
Mm.
He also thought the Department of Education would increase or improve efficiency by consolidating education programs previously scattered across various agencies.
Mm.
So, like, put a pin in that because I believe we're
I was
also
just gonna say, yeah.
So, like, remember to reference this because now we're undoing that. A third reason Carter thought the Department of Education was a great idea was to enhance responsiveness to local communities while ensuring federal support for equal educational opportunities. So, again, put a pin in that one too, because there's arguments against this in the current dismantling. He believed we would respond to communities in need faster and more efficiently if we had a Department of Ed to take care of it. And then a fourth main goal was to ensure local control, clarifying federal roles, and avoiding overreach into local education policies. So this one is interesting because the argument for more local control by dismantling is also happening right now.
Right.
So he's saying the Department of Education would ensure local control by clarifying federal roles and avoiding overreach into local educational policy. So I guess that was a promise of like, even though we're on the federal level and we're bureaucratic, we're still going to respect your local views on how your educational system should be run. I could see that getting really muddy really quick though.
Same. And yeah.
Narrowly passed by the House and the Senate because, again, even though Carter campaigned on the promise to create the Board of Ed, the House and the Senate still had to pass it, which is why currently the House and the Senate are still going to be there to potentially protect, or they have a voice in the Department of Education currently because it was created by them originally.
Right.
Narrowly passed by the House, narrowly passed by the Senate. Yeah, so that's the main background as to how the Department of Education was created and a bit of why. So again, loudly promoted by the NEA, and then we just had a nice little background on who the NEA is. I think it would be interesting to hear a bit now about current Department of Education.
I was going to talk about who has been appointed currently to run it. I think it's a very interesting direction that we're going into now. Our current president is looking to, for lack of a better word, consolidate and create better efficiency within the department. And they've always criticized it as too much spending, it's not doing a good job, basing the Department of Education's efficiency and success on school or student progress. So he in March appointed Linda E. McMahon for head of the DOE. She, just a little bit of background from her, she grew up in North Carolina. She studied, I didn't mean to laugh, she studied French She did her bachelor's. She got her bachelor's in French from East Carolina University with the intention of becoming a French teacher. Chose to graduate or speed up her education so that she could graduate with her husband. So she finished in 3 years as opposed to 4. And then really no information on what she did after that. Founding the WWE with her husband, Vince McMahon. And then if you don't know what the WWE is, it's the World Wrestling, I think now it's the World Wrestling Entertainment. And it's, you know, wrestling, which it's I don't like,
I don't know.
I know
Like,
people
like Hulk Hogan?
like Hulk Hogan, who was the guy?
Like the Terminator or something? That's
There's like the Undertaker. No, the Terminator's. Yeah, the Undertaker. Rowdy Randy Piper.
Yep.
Cream
Got
of the
it.
crop. It rises to the top.
Whoa. Okay, she knows.
I know because I knew someone very intimately for a very long time who was obsessed with wrestling and like.
That should have been a red flag, Shanida.
I know, but you know, he was tall. Anyways, and had an accent. Anyways, so wow. So one thing I did want to bring up, which I thought was interesting, and I pulled this from a New York Times article from 2024, and it just says, and I'm saying this again, I'm not criticizing, but I am just saying this because I think it's important to say, and it's something that I also thought of with her being appointed, is that the WWE is this organization that makes money on pushing violence, and I'm quoting now, pushing violence and sexualization of young women. It promotes wrestling, which, you know, I guess is a sport, but it is fake and it's like acting. Been said and documented they use steroids. I'm really hedging on all of my thoughts and I'm going to edit out all of these like things, but I'm just saying like it's very interesting that she's the person that they selected to run this department based on that history. Doesn't mean because you've done things in your past that aren't like not that great that you can't do something positive in the future or make change, or that you can't change the course of your career, but it was just a very interesting choice. Yeah. So that's that bit on her, and I think the next thing is looking at the president's plan, which is to consolidate waste in the government, cutting federal funding for schools and colleges that promote critical race theory. And these are things that we already know, as well as trans ideologies. We know that already. And wanting to dismantle bureaucracy and empower families. Again, that's going back to school choice. What I did read in another article was that it seems like a lot of what he wants to do does yes, he's laid off a massive amount of people. Actually, I'll talk about that first. Over 2,000 people since March. These are the offices that have been hit hard. So the Federal Student Aid Office, the Office of Civil Rights, which I didn't really know was a part of the DOE. There's another place, the Institution of Education Science, which is a data collection organization that works based on grants. Actually, it works parallel to grants to do the research to go, oh, this place needs funding, let's put money there. The Office of English Language Acquisition lost almost all of its staff. Right? So, like, there's an actual, yeah. So,
Of course. Right.
it's, yeah. And so Doge canceled almost all the contracts for the Institution of Educational Sciences, so this data collection branch, of $881 million in contracts, and then plus $575 million in contracts for research that was being conducted to help states implement evidence-based practices.
Whoa.
That makes sense? Yeah. Something else that I kept reading in some of these articles was the board of, or the Department of Education really is rooted in ensuring that civil rights are being held, because schools should be providing education not based on race, gender, or disability. But I feel like what they're doing, I don't know, and I'm going to say this and it's out of pocket maybe, but I feel like it's pushing it back to this economical level, like looking, because if you can't afford, and that's what the whole thing with school choice is, right? You can get a voucher. Parents are able to make choices as to where they're sending their students, but I see that as like, we're taking our kids out of public schools, we're going into the private school sector, or we're investing in charter schools, leaving public schools to what? You know what I mean? And it's like, it says the cutting from all of this, the Department of Ed is going to restrict access for low-income students to higher education. But then on the other side, I feel like I'm like, what is it? My mouth is a volcano. That federal funding only makes up a fraction of public school funding, so 6 to 13%, according to a 2018 U.S. government accounting office. And then the majority comes from state and local taxes. However, if you're implementing school choice, if parents are going to be taking their kids out of public schools to send them to a private school or to send them to a charter school or investing in other schools, what's going to happen to the public schools, especially in areas where you have these low income families, where you have, you know, because they say redlining doesn't exist. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go into that because I feel like that's a whole larger thing, but I feel like if you're in a community where you rely on the public schools for so many things, and parents are being, in those communities, are being, hey, like, you can have this voucher, you can go here, right? You're going to be taking your kids out. You're going to be investing your money and your time and, you know, your elsewhere. And then that also, like, I'm going on a tangent now, but that also, like, then affects the community, because, you know, kids are being taken out of those schools, they're going to other places. What happens to the businesses around those schools? What happens to, you know, people moving into those neighborhoods because it's like a good public school or whatever? You know what I mean? So I feel like there's this whole chain effect of what that might do or happen, and maybe I am poorly educated on this and this whole idea of school choice, that's not going to happen, but I feel like this, I don't know. And then I found two other points of information, and then I'm going to zip it. One, the DOE supposedly is prohibited to tell schools what and how to teach, and it's also doesn't coordinate with states to how to implement subjects like math and science. So the federal government has nothing to do with that. It's solely from the state.
That's currently, or that's after dismantling?
That's currently. Or that it never really had a hand in that, and that it was always a state and local level situation. So that's it. I'm done. Oh, and then, so going back to your point, you know, piggybacking off of your point, you know, Jimmy Carter's original idea was to consolidate all of this. Now, this current administration is scattering it and sending it back out into the ethos to, like, okay, you do this, you do that, because it's supposed to be more consolidated. I don't know.
How would education benefit or lose from having more control in the states? And I very much understand that one piece of dismantling the Board of Education is for Trump or his administration to address the culture wars. Like, if the Department of Ed was gone, then power would be given to the states to decide how they want to handle topics such as religion in the classroom and other diverse topics. And so, like, that's kind of a quick and easy way for him to get what he wants, and the kind of classroom that he envisions to be the correct one, which I very much will say I disagree with. And, I think there's pros and cons to state level governance of the education system. I did hear an argument that decisions being made by, for example, an 8-year-old in Texas shouldn't be made bureaucratically. They should be made within the state of that child,
Yeah.
with an argument that perhaps the child would be known better by state level education governance. I don't know. I think you could poke holes in that, but I'm trying to find pros to what we're dealing with currently. Um, I also, I did read a bit about, some states are, in fact, and this is completely bipartisan, some states are Democratic states, Republican states, some of them run education and govern education states in a beautiful way. Um,
Yeah.
but some states are a mess, and
Yeah.
historically the federal government would, set up some boundaries or issue some red tape in order to kind of keep them afloat and operating. And so the fear is that now we're going to trail even more into a way of living where your zip code and neighborhood you live in are a direct correlation to what kind of education you receive. And that's like exactly what we want to get out of.
Right.
And this idea of community that you bring up, I think, is really important. I had a conversation over the weekend with actually my brother and my sister-in-law, and it started as a conversation about how do you feel about religion, and we were talking about how, as 4 people that grew up religious and are no longer practicing in an organized religion, we were talking about how there's aspects of the community that you really miss, especially when you're raising a child. And I do agree with that. And what I was explaining to them, they have a 1-year-old, so not in school yet. Having 2 children in school, I've learned that because my school community is so robust and positive and active, I've found what I thought I would miss in terms of community. Not saying religion is a negative at all. I'm just saying,
No, of course.
I've always thought like I should reconsider joining a church in
Bless.
order to gain community, which is not the whole reason you should join a church,
No.
which is why I didn't. But I always was concerned that having children, I wouldn't have a robust community. I found it within our neighborhood school. Now, one of my girlfriends who lives a few blocks away and is in a different school in a neighborhood that is less economically robust, they quite literally are watching us on the other side of town have these races. Like there was a kids marathon that then competed in. He got his race bib, he got a medal, like he was training for it. It was a huge deal. There was 1,000 people in our local park. And their school didn't participate in it. Do we know exactly why? No, but she's noticed a pattern of their school not having an active voice in their PTA and not, participating in community events. And it also happens to be a school that is lacking a lot in its physical development, and teacher retention is not great. And I think it's a really great example of how a community can deteriorate without a robust school. And so the point you're making of like school choice on its feet sounds really nice. But I have some information pulled up on it. On its feet, it looks great, but this is a really serious question. Then what happens to the public schools that everybody's vouchering out of? And what happens to those communities?
Article on NPR that's entitled 9 Things to Know About the Big Private School Voucher Plan in Republicans' Tax Bill. And it was heard on All Things Considered. And they go into like a really neat, detailed list of what the vouchers are for. So it's basically these vouchers. It says if it funds private school tuition, it's a voucher. So the whole thing is that families will have the opportunity to put their take their children out of public schools and send them to private schools if they feel they're not getting what they need. So a lot of people are talking about, there's children with dyslexia or, having ADHD and like using these state provided vouchers to send them to, more specialized schools for children with these kinds of needs. So I think that's one thing. I think they're about $10,000 for each voucher. So that, something else you should know that I thought was really interesting, private schools can turn students away. So just because you have a voucher doesn't guarantee you a seat in a public school, in a private school. So I think that's really interesting to know too. So like you can go to a public school, but it doesn't mean necessarily you're going to get in or it's going to accept you. If they don't feel you're a good fit, they're not going to accept. So I think that's like another really great, Another really great, fact. And then I think my last thing, this is one of the things I think is kind of huge, is that it's not just for low-income families. And that concerns me as well, because it's like, then isn't that who needs it the most, right? So yeah.
It's a bit confusing. That's very muddy.
Super confusing. Yeah. And then there are other things like it won't improve test scores. Students who get these vouchers might be more likely to be able to attend college. But it also says that studies of these voucher programs are helping public schools as well. So it's like so many different things, so many different, so it's like, where are we going? How is this going to work? How is it going to really affect us? How is it going to help? Is it going to help? Is it going to hinder? That's all.
I will say, from everything I've learned, I still have more questions. I am very thankful. I think I'm mostly thankful for this research, for my new understanding of the NEA and their history. I think it's really exciting and impressive, and it made me feel emotional, and it gave me goosebumps, and was something that I couldn't believe I didn't know, and I'm so thankful that I now know. I will say, if I could name one thing in the proposal to dismantle education that I do think is interesting, it is the argument that dismantling the Department of Education could lead to modernizing education, specifically putting more of a prioritization on trade schools versus just college or university.
Yeah.
However, I think by cutting 12,000 employees from the Department of Education that were mostly probationary employees, you're cutting the youngest minds and potentially the people who would help you modernize. Which brings me very close to my conclusion, which is there are some things that could be interesting and make education in our nation better by dismantling Department of Education. But I don't trust this administration to do it. That's my issue. I'm open, I'm down to explore new ideas because what's happening right now isn't working, but I don't trust the administration to do it. And
I don't either.
I'll end my thoughts with a quote or an idea that I heard from a podcast that I will link in our show notes. The idea of like, you break it, you buy it. So I feel like Trump is notorious for placing blame on everyone around him for everything that goes wrong. He's now broken the Department of Education and he now owns it. So I hope it ends well. But at least this is now something that, like, I hope will illuminate the eyes of people who are diehard Trump fans, that if this doesn't go well, like, this is something somebody you elected into power did
Yes.
break
Yeah.
and change. And if it goes great, okay, cool. I would love to be wrong. But if it doesn't go well, please take stock and
Yeah.
take note to encourage your future decision making.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think, yeah, just what you said made me think the same exact thing, that we are now in a place where we can really reflect, not just as educators or teachers or administrators, but as a whole, like the United States as a whole, and the things that he's doing now in education, especially like looking at who he's appointed. Are we making the right choices? Because this person was elected to office, right? For her board of ed. I think this gives us also an opportunity to, like, okay, how am I electing my leaders? How am I getting these people in office? How am I getting, because if we're going back to local government, then we need to look at local government and we need to be responsible for that and make really good decisions. It's like, when we talk to the kids, like, you need to make principled choices. We need to make principled choices. Like, was this a principled choice? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to be negative. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. I think.
I'm curious to follow, like I said, again, I want to follow the NEA more closely and see what their opinions are.
And thank you for that.
We may have lost the Board of Ed, but they still, the NEA does still exist and has done some pretty incredible work in our history.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that again because I had no idea that they were that.
No idea.
Yeah, no. And definitely we'll link it in our show notes and production notes or wherever. Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah. Join us as we continue our monthly podcast. You can find us on Instagram on the Sound It Out podcast. We will be launching our YouTube soon and hopefully popping up on Apple Podcasts soon.
Yeah.
And we're down for you to comment if you noticed anything that was a misconception.
Or if you want to add to the conversation, because this is a dialogue. It's a dialogue between the two of us, but also a dialogue with all of our listeners. But yeah, you can also find us on our website at www.thesoundedoutpodcast.com.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks. This was our first virtual episode, and I hope it went well. You'll see in the editing.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Now, this isn't plugged in.
This is mine is plugged in. Well, it's not plugged in either. But we'll definitely be using microphones in the future, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of the Sound It Out podcast. Who is the NEA and what is the Department of Education? June 2025, with your hosts Cailin Kiefaber and Shanida G. Gutierrez. Produced by Cailin Kiefaber and Shanida G. Gutierrez. Editor Shanida G. Gutierrez. Music Shanida G. Gutierrez. Graphic design Marie at MRKTTNR at Fiverr. Special thanks to the New Jersey State Troopers, and thanks to you for listening to the Sound It Out podcast. Find us on Instagram at the Sound It Out podcast or on our website at www.thesoundedoutpodcast.com. See you next time.
Cut that shit.
Cut it out. All right, that's enough.